so we're gonna do a bolstering review, gather up the energy, come slowly to support the tibias in both hands, and then you get to share the feet with one palm and one elbow crease. Gives you the freedom to situate your own body perpendicular. I just barely lift up the feet and let this graze, especially if they're heavier clients, you know, just like, you don't need to overexert yourself on this one. And then anchor in. And then as you anchor in, open to expose your canvas. You're gonna want the most exposure, especially on the deeper moves with the arch. And then Dre asked a really great question. He said, what if you're just struggling and their client's feet just wanna do this the whole session? You're just struggling to get into these juicy pressure points that need to be worked. Depending on how out they are, I'll sometimes sandbag them. So can you just to show you an example. Yeah, gracias. And this will just ensure success with exposing your canvas. And then can I do one more? It's gonna be a million times easier and especially healthier on your own body mechanics if you have the maximum surface of their canvas open and available for you to use. Otherwise, you're gonna do some crazy eversion stuff with your ankle. It's not gonna feel good. All right. I'm gonna come to standing and grab the aerial silk. And right behind you, reaching up. And then we're gonna say hello with the feet on their feet first, just dragging from the heel. And I'm gonna settle my toesies into the arch, and I'm gonna ground and anchor my heel onto the mat. So I'm just letting my toes say hello, warming up. This isn't a super deep move yet. And then coming to match those feet. Once you've got your feet matched, I'm aiming my big toe for that bubbling springs point. Mid arch, just below the calcaneus. I'm in that bubbling springs, and I come to just comfortably lie back. Just let it be comfortable, either upper thoracic, or you could come lower. I have a microphone back there, so come to, the only thing you want to do is if you come up too high, and you're here for too long, it will cut off your blood flow and your arms will get tingly. So create a little more space in your thoracic, support it, don't get too close to the armpits. And then once you get here, just kind of play with like, what does it feel like to be a plank? What does it feel like to kind of lift up the hips, squeeze the glutes? This is super light pressure. This is barely anything. Then we're gonna come press into the toes, pull in the elbows towards your rib cage. It's like you're pulling everything into your shoulder joint. Walk it out here. Walking slowly, toes on toes, preparing for the next real big deep tissue move. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna let now the aerial silk support my front hips. And I'm gonna slowly back into that heel into bubbling springs, kidney 1 point. I can reach up for balance. I can also lean forward too. Matching heels. And then here, just take your sweet time to do like a praying mantis, slowly shifting weight from heel. And you can even just allow yourself to do both heels sinking. You can play with doing a squat. Keep your back really straight. You can also play with Titanic, bringing aerial silk in front of the hips. And then Titanic lends itself really nicely to a supported downward dog. So I'm going to place this silk on the top of my hip flexors. And then with my lower body tractioning, I can also just walk my dog, but it's like a super supported downward dog. Like it's so supported, I don't even need my hands. I could just maybe even stretch them if I wanted. I could even come toes into the feet. Could do that. Just really let yourself kind of feel, what does it feel like to have my hips tractioned and supported, weight in the heels, and slowly reaching back up. Okay. So once you've done just some play with feet on feet, heels, you're gonna come to a different massage tool. And now we're just gonna think about how can I use my arch to massage the feet. What's kind of cool and interesting is they say the feet could imitate what the hand does in massage, but there's literally no equivalent to using my arch to massage her in my hand. I could say I'm using this to massage her, but that would be so hard to like let that pressure go in. But the heel of the hand is indicative of the heel of the foot. The knife edge karate chop is the knife edge of the foot. And then the toes, of course, the fingers. So what's really, really cool about foot massages, we can actually use our arches to massage them. Woohoo! So play with coming into like arch on arch, super perpendicular, and try laying back to see what that feels like to lay back and kind of lowly supporting that lower leg. You can come into a lunge if you want. Totally perpendicular. And then to transition onto the other side, we'll go back into bubbling springs, both feet. And you can just practice on the other side. Just letting your arch do all the work for you, and then letting your puzzle piece of your own foot, if anything, go higher up towards the heel. Where this doesn't feel good with someone walking on your feet is if they compress your first metatarsal. If you do any kind of like deep work of compression of the toesies, that's gonna feel unpleasant. But the arch, oh, we know that can take a lot of good pressure. Just gonna let that sink in. If your client was like, more pressure please, we're gonna evert and play with the concept of coming onto the knife edge of the foot. It's creating driving pressure. I'm in a kind of like a lunge stance. Bridget, if you were to give that a number. 6. Yeah, the longer I'm there, the longer it's allowing it to sink in, to go even deeper. So this is a great trigger point to kind of hit, to spend some time in. I'm on the knife edge of my foot. No lotion, so I'm not sliding off. And then another great point to kind of hang out in is our transition point of heel back to kidney point. It's really yummy to sink back into this point. And then as you're here, just try to practice looking forward and even like bringing your shoulders up. There's that tendency to just kind of stay like this. But once you feel like you've got your heel in a good spot, just practice standing, looking forward. Awesome. Okay. I want to show you guys one more thing with if we had a little lotion in this situation. So dry, deep tissue warm up with feet, really, really great. Especially, I didn't start adding lotion into my footwork until very much later because it brings in this element of balance. So even if you know, your first several, months practicing and then getting to that point when you do oil, because dry is just as effective. Do not underestimate it. We're gonna add some oil to the bottoms of the feet, just so I can show you some fun effleurage stuff so that you have in your repertoire. What does it feel like to have light feet instead of all of this like pouring weight into the body feeling? So we got some good lotion. I'm gonna wipe off my hands before I touch the silk. And And then you can kind of just like have a towel during your whole shift nearby. You could kind of use the towels as you go, just to help reduce so much lotion on this silk. And then we're gonna do a little effleurage. I'm gonna start with my right foot, just starting the top of the heel. I'm gonna really let my toes also do some work. My heel is doing nothing. And then instead of coming all the way off her, I'm gonna stay with her. I'm gonna bend my standing leg. I'm gonna do an upstroke. And especially as we talked about with the durian on the calcaneus, this area can take a lot of good stripping. And same thing with the lateral edge of the foot. Abductor digiti minimi, the muscle of the pinky toe, can take quite a bit. So I'll also use my big toe to do some of that stripping work. Or you can stay high up on the lateral side of the foot to get the origin point of digiti minimi, the pinky toe muscle. And once you've done effleurage, you can either come all the way off and do separate feet, or if you're feeling comfortable, ready for the next challenge, is more intermediate, where you stay anchored on that heel, you stay on that foot, and you do the same sequence on the left foot. But for practice, if you're feeling like, that's too much to practice, you can always, repeat that same sequence and have this foot back here. Just kind of feel what's doable for your body today. And then remembering the toes take the least amount of pressure, but I'm safe with this stroke because my toes can't really deliver too much of a great pressure. If she had a painful bunion going on though, I might just be a little more sensitive to the pressure on the tops of the toes there. And then same kind of thing, we did some effleurage with the toes. You can also do a little bit of that slow lotion. Just play a little bit with that arch stroke that we were doing earlier. Just gonna make sure. There's a lot of knots in the arch, the aponeurosis of the bottom of the foot. So as we slide, just going mindfully really slow, knowing that they've got lots of knots in there. I'm letting my heel kind of anchor in to the mat, and I'm using like the mid to upper knife edge of my foot. I tend to use the middle point of my knife edge of my foot, middle, like this. That's the most contact point on the edge of my foot that I use. It's the most powerful. And then from here, coming knife edge, you could slide slowly that heel into bubbling springs. And as you slowly slide the heel down, just go slow because they might have knots. And it's super deep, so we're just gonna go slow and mindful. Sliding, if anything, kind of sliding more toward the medial side of the arch because that gets super overused, super sore. And then make nice. Fun to use the arches of the feet. I love them so much. It's my favorite. They're so nurturing, they're so soft, they're so padded. They're the most gentle tool on the entire body, on the entire foot. Really do some good scraping on the sides of the foot with your big toe, even getting your toesies engaged. We won't do lots of that in the practice because I don't want you guys to develop stress in your toes, but it is good at building strength in the toes, becoming more dexterous. So to recap, you'll get to use your toes on this demo. You'll get to feel what it feels like to have kind of like a supported lean, and you'll get to feel that journey of what does it feel like to have my arch? And let your heel, when you use the arch, ground into the mat to kind of anchor you. Playing with different lunges, playing with your plank body, playing with reaching up, kind of lots of variety in poses too that we can play with on this one.